my channel. This week I'm bringing you another Cook with G. But before I get started, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up so that way we can keep on growing. Now this week's recipe actually doesn't come from a cookbook. It comes from, I guess you could call it a printout or like a Xerox scan, but a friend of mine's mother actually gave me a bunch of goodies from a local Asian grocery store that she frequents, which was super kind of her. And in there were a bunch of different ingredients to make sushi, as well as these instructions that she included. Now, full disclosure, I've made sushi before. I've actually made it a bunch, and I'll link some of the resources that I've used to kind of learn how to make it over the years. But I wanted to follow this because there's also a roll recipe that I've never had before, and kind of be able to walk through some formal instructions so that way we can make it together and I can kind of learn a little bit more because I am by no means a pro. There's always more to learn, and I love sushi, so it's an excuse to make it. Now, let's cook. So your first step is to set your workspace. You want to gather all of your ingredients and tools that you'll need to make sushi. What are those tools? First is a bamboo sushi rolling mat. This is what is recommended in the recipe. They also sell ones that are plastic. They are pretty cheap to get online, and some people like to actually cover them in saran wrap so that way they stay cleaner. I haven't done that, but I definitely think that it's a good way to keep them much cleaner if you're making sushi often. And lastly, if you don't have one, you can still make sushi. Your rolls just might not be as tight and as clean as if you did have a bamboo roller. Next, you need some short grain rice, which you might also see referred to as sushi rice or sticky rice. You can use white or brown rice if you wanted. Either is fine. Just cook it how it says on the package and you'll be a-okay, ready to go. Lastly, you need the star of the show, seaweed or nori. So you can see that there are actually two different sides to nori. So there's one side that's rough and then one side that is a little bit shinier, and you can kind of see how it catches the light. They have different textures and they have different purposes. So let's make some sushi. The first thing we're going to do is season our rice. So we're going to use some sushi seasoning. And this is actually just a mix of vinegar and some sugar. You can kind of see in the ingredients here, that's all that it really is. When I've made sushi in the past, I don't even necessarily use this, but this really does add a great flavor, and if you're looking to kind of replicate what you can get in a restaurant, that is what this will help with, or just adding some vinegar and some sugar also does that. I just followed the bottle's instructions for how many tablespoons to add, and it specifically said that you want to add it when the sushi rice is still hot. Now the first step is to take your rolling mat and place that on top of your cutting board, and then we're going to take our seaweed and we're going to place it with the shiny side down. The way I remember this is that you want your sushi to look pretty, and the shiny side is more attractive, so you want that on the outside. So then you do that and you have the rough side up. Then you just start taking your sushi rice and you want to just place it onto the nori and start moving it around. But the key is that you want to leave about 1 inch at the top, which will come in handy when we're rolling the sushi later. Now it's time to add your filling. I am making an avocado and cucumber roll. So I just thinly sliced my cucumber and pause for this beautiful avocado. And then I just placed the avocado on top of the cucumber. And I do recommend kind of peeling your cucumber if you don't want some of the outside skin. And I also decided to add some sesame seeds just on top of everything before we roll it up. So this is your best friend, a bowl of water. This will be coming in handy a lot during this process. So you're going to dip your fingers into the water and then dab it at the top of the nori where there is no rice. So you want to get your thumbs underneath of the bamboo roller, and then you want to bring everything over top of your filling, and you want to form your hands around the filling with the nori and the bamboo roller. And I'm doing kind of this motion where you're squeezing it to get it a little tight. You kind of want to pull it back just a little bit to tighten it up, and then I like just going in there with my hands in that same motion to kind of tighten everything, make sure it's all stuck together well, and then you want to pull out the back of that bamboo roller like I have there. And then the last thing is to add some more water. It's been a while, so I just added a little more in, but you can wait until now to add the water, and when we roll it, you'll be able to just finish rolling and do that motion one more time. And that water actually helps the nori stick to itself. So that way it's kind of like a sealant and you have your perfect sushi roll. And now we're going to do something that took me a really long time to learn. We're going to let our sushi roll rest. So I'm just going to move it to a different cutting board, and I'm just forming it with my hands one more time. Make sure it's tight, and I'm going to just move it to the side and let it sit while we work on our other rolls. Okay, so now let's make the roll from the recipe, which is a cucumber roll, but with a surprise ingredient. So we're going to just do the same process again. We've got our bamboo mat, we've got our nori, and we are actually going to split our nori in half. So I'm just folding it in half first, and then I'm gonna take some scissors and I'm just gonna cut it. You probably could fold it enough just so that way you could separate it if you don't happen to have kitchen scissors. And then we just take our half of the nori sheet and we're going to follow the same process just with a smaller surface. So we'll take our sushi rice, spread that along there, try and keep it on the nori, and then we leave our 1 inch at the top. And then this is our special ingredient, some wasabi. I have always been skeptical about wasabi because I always have felt that it was too spicy for me, and I really like spice. So I don't know where I got that in my head, but I just put a little bit of the wasabi down just like it said in the instructions, and they kind of spread it out with a spoon. And then I added my cucumber, and we're following the same process. We're just gonna roll over top, add our water, and then we can just go ahead and finish our roll out. So you can tell that this roll is much smaller than our last roll, but it is literally half the size. So we're gonna set it seam side down onto our cutting board so that way we can let it rest with its pal. And now we're going to make one of my favorite rolls, but first we're going to make sure that our nori is facing the right way. You want the lines on the nori to be going horizontal, not vertical. So that way when you roll it, you go with the grain and you're not going against it, which could cause the nori to break a little bit easier. So you know the drill. We're going to put our sushi rice all over our nori, and then we're adding mango, which is one of my favorite things to have in a sushi roll. So we'll put some of that in there, and then we're going to add some avocado, and you guessed it, it is a mango avocado roll. So you can either use the back of your knife or a spoon to get your slices out, or if you're able to peel your avocado, you can also slice it that way. This is another use for your bowl. Sometimes your hands get dirty and you need to rinse them off, so I like to have that around. And we're just going to roll it up, do the motion again, and eventually we will have our perfect sushi roll. And this roll is just going to join his friends on the cutting board, and we're going to move on to our last roll. So we're going to take that other half of our nori sheet and we're going to just add everything. So we'll start with our rice as always, and then we're going to add my favorite, some mango, and some cucumber, some avocado, and a sprinkle of sesame seeds. Now we just roll up our small but mighty roll, and there it is, the last one to join its friends, because now it is time to cut the rolls. Okay, we're going to reset our workspace. So obviously we need a fresh bowl of water. We also need a paper towel, and this paper towel is going to come in handy. So I dipped it in the water and I just squeezed out some excess. Now we're going to bring in the first sushi roll that we made, and we're going to grab our knife. You don't need anything special, but you do need a knife about this size so that way you have ample control when you're cutting your sushi. And then we're going to take that damp paper towel and we're going to wipe it along the knife very carefully, and that is going to dampen the knife so that way it's easier to slice the sushi. And now first we're going to cut it straight down the middle, and so I'm using this kind of slow rocking method so that way I'm able to kind of get a nice clean cut. And if it feels like your sushi is nice and easy to cut through, then you can kind of just push your knife down and you should have a perfect clean cut sushi that isn't squished and is still perfectly intact. Sometimes I like to clean my knife between cuts, and that will help it kind of always have a nice smooth cut. And then the cuts I made were one down the middle, one on each side of that, and then all of those pieces cut in half. And ta-da! We have our gorgeous sushi roll. Woo! Now sometimes when you're cutting your sushi, you might end up getting an indent like you see here, and then your sushi starts to squish. So I usually just like to wet my knife again, go back in, and hopefully your sushi stays perfectly intact and you should be good to go. Lastly, we just need to pour ourselves some soy sauce, and I'm having some pickled ginger because my friend's mom gave it to me with this adorable note. And to answer her question, yes, I love pickled ginger. So we're just gonna take some of that with our soy sauce, and it's time to eat. Okay, let's try it. I got a little sampling of all of our rolls here. Now I am going to try the cucumber and wasabi one because that's the roll that was in the instructions, and I don't I like spicy things, but I'm usually a little bit afraid of wasabi, I will admit, because I don't know, sushi is very refreshing to me, so I'm always a little nervous about spice, but I am going to go ahead and try it. Okay, wait, putting the wasabi on the inside was really good. That added a nice little flavor, and I think because it was with the cucumber, it didn't like, I don't know, the cucumber like kind of calmed it down. I probably could have added even more wasabi. Maybe I just am a wimp in the past and like I should have more wasabi with my sushi. Also, I know that there is like a certain etiquette to where to put the wasabi. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I've seen some people mix wasabi into their soy sauce to kind of make that spicy. I've seen other people put it just directly on top of their sushi. I'm curious if anyone knows the proper etiquette to use wasabi with your sushi. Let me know in the comments, or if you have a preference. Now I'm going to try it with some soy sauce. That's really good. I have been sitting on wasabi all this time. So I guess that is a big plus of today, that I learned I need to use wasabi more. A little ginger. I love having ginger between my bites of sushi or as like my last bit when I'm eating it. It just is so refreshing and like really like cleanses my palate, especially if I'm switching between different rolls, because now let's try my favorite, the mango avocado. Add a little bit this way. So good. If there's one roll that you try, I recommend the mango avocado, because I feel like obviously all these are vegetarian, so if you're used to kind of having more of a fish-based sushi, which you can totally do with any of the ways that I prepared sushi today, you just kind of sub it out for any type of fish that you want, as long as you get sushi grade or you use something that's cooked. But if you're looking to try something new and vegetarian, mango avocado is one of my favorites. Obviously, the hardest part about making it is getting a perfectly ripe avocado and a perfectly ripe mango. So if you find yourself with those two, try it out and let me know what you think. Now, I know I said in the beginning that this didn't come from a cookbook, but the scan did look like it came from a book in general. So if anyone actually has seen this recipe before, please let me know in the comments. Maybe I could find the book online, so that way I could share it with you if it's something that you're interested in. Another thing that I wanted to say about my little takeaway from my Cook with G experience today is that when my friend's mom had gifted me these ingredients and the instructions, you know, the words that she had said to me was that she wanted to share her culture with me, and she wanted to share some of the things that she thought were delicious or, you know, a part of her home, because she is from Japan. And I thought that was awesome, and kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to include the recipe, because I think that's the point of Cooking with G, is to kind of learn about how food and culture kind of go hand in hand, to learn more about a person and where someone's from and their background and what's important to them. So the next time you eat sushi, I hope that you think about where it came from and how it could be really important to someone else and how it's a part of someone's culture. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up, so that way we can keep on growing. And I will be sure to catch you next time. Bye!